Well, Jenna, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. Like I said, I'm really intrigued to have this conversation with you because I think we're going to touch up on something that a lot of people think about, but they don't really know how to put it into words. And that's exactly what we're going to do here today. Before we jump in, why don't I hand over to you so you can introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Excellent. Thank you so much. My name is Jenna Hermans. I am the COO and co-founder of Be Courageous. We're a transformation agency, and we work with Fortune companies infusing courage into their organizations from leadership transformation all the way through culture transformation with courage and calm at the helm of those. And I'm also the author of Chaos to Calm: 5 Ways Busy Parents Can Break Free from Overwhelm.
Oh my goodness. And we are going to talk about the book in a little bit. But tell me, what made you decide to go and start this agency, to work in this area of calmness with entrepreneurs? What made you decide one day that, hey, this is it, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, what's so funny is that it wasn't this direct path, right? Of I'm gonna make this choice when I'm, coming out of college, and this is where I'm going, and this is what I'm doing. And I guess just like so many of us, the path revealed itself as time, just as I was living, right? Living, making the best decisions in the moment, and next thing you know, here's where you are. But what's funny is I have a history of human resources and operations, and I've worked internally at various large organizations as well as small organizations. I've run my own business as well. This is my second venture. My first one was a preschool, so very different environment and industry to working with adults and adults in business. So the path has been windy, but it's all led to, or there's this theme that has shown up of how to help someone be their best selves. And whether that's in the workplace, supporting them through an HR lens, or that's helping someone with, my book. I have a history of being an endurance athlete, and I would always do that under the umbrella of Team in Training, which is an organization through the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society where you come together and you train for an endurance event with a community, all while fundraising for this amazing cause. And so what's been interesting is that all these little choices I've made along the way have all been in direct relationship to the concept of supporting someone reaching their dreams, living their best lives. And that was the same when I decided to get my coaching certification, as I'm a high performance coach. And my husband and I, we had actually both been internal at different businesses when we decided to start our own agency together. And so that was about 7 years ago that we both quit our corporate jobs and said, let's go do this together.
Oh my gosh, and that takes a lot of courage, especially for you both to do that. I mean,
Mhm.
I always say when you decide to start a business, there's just something inside of your gut that is just telling you to do this. You don't know what it is, you can't explain it, you can't put it into words. It is just a drive. And did you kind of feel the same, maybe for your husband as well, or was this more of a logic decision for you?
There was logic as well as emotion involved
Yeah.
in that decision. There was one of, we have 4 children, and so we wanted to kind of make our own hours, right? And have some more autonomy with how we spend our time and our energy. And additionally, there was also like there's this work that we're drawn to do, but that we can't necessarily do under the containers of working for somebody else, right? By living through our own integrity and our mission and our vision of how we would like to support others and businesses and individuals and leaders. And so we thought, let's just do it ourselves. And so there was definitely that passion behind the decision, but also it came from a very strong place of logistically, if we can work from home, right? Especially for me as doing a lot of the back end work with the operations and the finance and the HR of our business, because that's what I do for us, that I can do that pretty much, all from home. So that
Yeah.
is really great for being able to support our family and be present for our children while my husband's traveling and being client facing.
Yeah. And I think this is also where the concept of calm comes in.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is what we're going to talk about today. So I wanted to ask that question because I think a lot of people who either decide to start their business or have been in business for a while, they kind of go through this process like, everything is happening, stress, overload, overwhelm, everything all in one go. And you're bringing to us today this concept of calm. But this is not just where people stay calm, it's all okay. There's so much more to it. So if I can ask you directly, what does calm mean to you then?
Yeah, so to me, calm means being in flow, right? There's the physiological element of calm, which is your nervous system is regulated. You're not in the fight, flight, freeze response cycle, but that you feel safe, you feel grounded. You're like, okay, I've got this, right? From a physiological level, and then from an emotional level and kind of maybe spiritual or from the esoteric level, that you're in flow, you've got good energy. Anything that's coming your way, you're like, I got this, right? I can handle this. Yes, I'm seeing, these maybe problems as challenges and opportunities as opposed to massive roadblocks, right? And instead of being scared to move forward or scared of what's going to come, you can approach it with an open mind and an open heart and have that creativity. And that's where, when I talk about calm, that state is really that flow state of what I'm talking about. It's not like zen and quiet and slow, which is some people's definition, and that's fine too. And sometimes you need that, right? To get back to that baseline, you need to go slow and quiet. But
Yeah.
that's when all of my work around calm is getting into flow state and supporting the environment and yourself to be in that state, hopefully as frequently as possible.
Yes, and I just wanted to say, because that's the thing, you won't always be in that state 24/7.
Yeah.
You will get moments where you go like, excuse my language, the shit has hit the fan. Things have come up, challenges, and you've got to face it and you've got to work with it. But I guess it's about how quickly you get back into that flow again. Is that right?
Exactly, exactly. So it's, because we're humans. We're humans. We're gonna get dysregulated. Things are gonna happen and we can't control our environment, but we can control to a degree how we respond to our environment and when those things come up and recognize and notice, oh, right, that is stressing me out. I am dysregulated. Okay, how do I get myself out of that space again as quickly as possible, or recognize what is that space serving for me in this moment? So there's a lot of
Yeah.
self-awareness in this journey and relationship with calm.
Yeah. And this is where you mentioned earlier before we started the recording that you normally have four pillars of calm that you'll normally use and reflect on. Go through each one of those pillars and let's have a conversation about each one of them a little bit and just kind of dive into this a little bit more. Because, like I said, everybody's got their own definition of calm. And when people talk about calm, it's like, oh gosh, there we go again. Stay calm. Get the slogan, the whole thing. Stay calm, carry on.
Mhm.
But let's talk about those four pillars so people can literally just put a little bit more sense behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're the five pillars. The first one is efficiency, right? Meaning, how do we do the things we have to do, right? With as little to no energy as possible, right? There's or maximizing our time and our natural energy flows to be able to take care of the things that we need to do so that we can make more space, time, and energy for the things that we want to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Okay. So, from your concept, then, if people feel that they're a little bit out of control, they can't be efficient all the time, is there a little tip that you can tell them just how to kind of go back and step back and go, sort yourself out, become a little bit more efficient, and you'll see the flow come back?
Absolutely, because there's things that are happening all day long that take us out of our flow, right? We'll be on a project or talking to somebody, and then next thing you know, an email comes in that just like, or your kid comes in and whatever it is that knocks you off. But with efficiency of knowing, because oftentimes also with executives I work with or with parents that I work with, they'll say like, I don't know what to do first, second, third, right? The prioritization, everything feels so important and everything is important, but the efficiency comes in when getting clear on true prioritization of what to do when and what to actually take off your plate completely, what to outsource, what you can save for later. And so it's getting kind of your task list sorted out and then how do you where it to do the things that you are meant to do now or do later, how you structure that into your time, into your day, right? Again, utilizing your your time and your calendar, which is a big tool for me and my clients, right? How do you when
Yes.
you have right a lot when you have these full days, how do you maximize your time? And then using your natural energy flows, like I mentioned earlier as well, to notice, I get my best think work done, between this and that hour. So protecting that space as much as possible, right? To know that's when I'm going to do those things. And so if the email comes in, I need the thing, and it's like, oh, well, I can definitely get to that in, let's say, 2 hours from now, right? Unless
Yeah.
someone needs something super urgent and it's important. But generally, majority of the time, nothing is that urgent that it couldn't wait an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is.
Exactly.
So it's really getting clear about prioritization. And then, another thing is really utilizing your calendar and your energy flows to maximize the things that you need to do.
Yeah. No, I love that you put that into a better concept because it's like I say, everybody's got their own way of being efficient, but it comes back down to prioritizing. So I love that you brought that up. What's the second pillar then?
The second one is all about habits. How do we create
Ooh.
habits that support us, right, and benefit us, and ditch the ones that don't? And so getting really clear, again, self-awareness, like we
Mm-hmm.
mentioned earlier, having self-awareness, and that's kind of step one when using habits to support calm, is understanding what are your habits and then harnessing the ones for good and ditching the ones that don't serve.
Yes, and I love the fact that you're bringing awareness in because habits are those things that we do automatically. We don't even consciously think about some of the habits that we are, you know, going through every single day. So I think you're
Mhm.
right. And funny enough, I spoke to somebody earlier on today and she said, consciously thinking about your habits is one of the hardest tasks for our
Yeah.
brains to do, which is why we don't want to do it. But I think, with what you're saying here is if you want to get into that flow, understanding what your habits are and consciously taking note of them basically is
Mhm.
a little job that you've got to take on and do.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing is like all of these tips and tools and the elements around calm, they're all very simple, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not easy, right? If it
Yeah.
was all easy, everyone would be doing it all the time, right? But they're simple in that once you get over that hump, right? When you meet that resistance that confronts everyone, whether it's a physical something or a mental block that gets in the way or a habit that you're trying to break, right? That when you have that self-awareness and the intentionality that these simple things become easier. But the
Yes.
self-awareness is a huge element in being able to activate on these simple things.
Yes. Yes. Okay, gosh, a lot to take in already, and we're only going on to the third pillar.
So the third pillar is communication. How do we
Ooh,
communicate
yes.
with each other, right? To build rapport and trust and to be able to support, get the support that we need, right? As busy entrepreneurs, parents, business, executives, leaders, right? We need to harness our communication as best as possible to get the support we need and also to build the rapport so that we can have better relationships with people
Yes.
around us.
Okay, fourth pillar. I'm giving everybody so much to think about here today on this episode.
It's dense, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
The fourth pillar is community. How do you
Mm,
harness the people around you, right? Because so often, especially as entrepreneurs and as leaders, we find ourselves really isolated. and it can be very lonely, but we don't have to do it alone. And
Yes.
we can utilize our the people, our community, the people around us to fill our cups in various ways or to help us in other ways. And, you know, as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, yes, maybe you're working somewhat alone, but it doesn't have to be a lonely experience. And you
Yeah.
can get that energy and community from people that you don't have to work with them in order to get that. And a lot in the book is about harnessing your community when it comes to your family, right? But this is about business as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're a solopreneur or you're in a large organization and anything in between.
And also, I think it brings back to what you said, the previous pillar, the communication. Communication and community, I find, always walk very much hand in hand. But it's true what you're saying, because I'm just going to talk from a personal experience. I love doing networking. I love having a community around me because I find when I communicate with people, that's where I get my energy from. It's
Mhm.
great having conversations, even just having this podcast interview with you. I love it. I'm bubbling so much on the inside with the energy, with the excitement, with what it is that you're sharing. And that's where I find I come alive. And I can only talk for myself, but if other people feel the same way, this is kind of where you start feeling like, hey, again, there's a flow. It's coming back. And it's just through those two pillars. I mean, we spoke about the other ones, but you can already feel it if you're into it.
Absolutely. And the great thing about these pillars is that they don't necessarily live in isolation also. They all
Yes.
support each other, right? And you can collect them and kind of block them in with each other as well. So the last pillar being self-care, right? How do you take care of this being, right? That
Yes.
from a physical perspective, from a mental perspective, from a spiritual perspective, right? That all of these things, all these five pillars really support each other. And so you could effectively, have efficiency in how you exercise. Let's say you're like, okay, I drop my kid at school, or right before I go, I head out of the house before I go to the office and I go to the gym, and then be able to use that time to be in community, right? It could be that, okay, so I drop my kid off and I go to the gym, or, you go to the gym at some point and there's people there that you connect to, right? And you
Yes.
can they know your name and they say hi to you when you walk in. You say hi to them. How's your mother? How's your neighbor? Oh, I heard you were, remodeling your house. How's that going? Being able to talk and be around people in that way while having your efficiency because it's on the way to your job or it's on the way here, or, finding the right location for you or whatever it is. And then that's also filling your cup for your self-care of taking care of you. So that's three things all in one right there.
Yes. Yes. No, I love it. And I think on self-care, it's in particular, again, for us as women, it's one of those things we tend to put to the side, especially if we're busy mums, we're busy businesswomen, wives, sisters. We've got always so much going on that we feel that self-care is a little bit on the back burner. But what would you say to mums who kind of feel constantly that they need to take care of everybody else first before they look after themselves?
So, what I would say is that the way that you show up for them is the way that, one is you're role modeling, right? So, if you're not taking care of you, your kids are going to see that and they're going to think that's the norm, that that's
Mm,
the normal thing that parents do. So, if you don't want your kids to act, to put themselves last, right? If you're thinking about them, then you need to do it for yourself
yeah.
because every decision that you make is role modeling to your children what's right, what's wrong, what's appropriate, what's normal, all of that without saying any words. They are looking at everything that we're doing, right? The
Yeah.
actions speak louder than words, always, especially with children. So taking care of the self, like it needs to essentially be a non-negotiable. And when I say self-care, I'm not talking about self-care Sunday, go get a massage and a manicure and a pedicure and be gone for hours and spend tons of money. Absolutely not. Unless you have the time and the money and the energy for all that, great, go ahead. But for myself and for all my clients, right, busy, entrepreneurial, business leaders, parents, it's about systemic, sustainable self-care. And
Yeah.
these are the micro things that we do throughout the day to set us up for success, to fill our cups throughout the day, to end our day in a way that feels fulfilling and restful. Right. And so that, and I like to always start with, because I get the question all the time of, but where do I start? Where do I begin? I don't even know how to start taking care of myself. And I say, go back to the basics. And I call
Yes.
them the brilliant basics of self-care, because we've got these down for our kids and we want to make sure that everyone around us has their basics taken care of. And when I tell you this list, it is the least sexy list you've ever heard. It is so basic that you're like, really? These are on the list? And I'm saying, yes, really, because are you doing these things and are you doing them
Mhm.
well? And are you doing all five of these? Because again, another five. And I have a fun acronym to remember them by as well, if you'd like to hear my fun acronym.
Yes, please share. No, I'd love to hear. I think everybody else is sitting here thinking, what are they?
Yes, what are these unsexy basics? So the acronym is CHEER, CHEER. And the first letter is C for connection, right?
Mm.
And that's getting out from under your roof in these walls. It's getting out of the screen and connecting to the you that isn't just your labels, right?
Mm.
Mom, boss, employee, partner, right? And getting connected to who you are in your core. And that can look like spending time with a friend. That could look like going out into nature and just enjoying, being in something that is so much bigger than yourself,
Yeah.
right? And just connection. See. So that one is not as unsexy as the rest. The rest are incredibly unsexy. H stands for hydration, watering yourself. It's basic, right? And I'm so glad. I love that there's this huge trend of bringing water bottles everywhere we go. Everyone with their Stanleys and their Yetis. Yes, exactly. Right. And so to have to water ourselves, because so often we forget to drink water. And if we're not, without that hydration, we're literally shriveling. How can you
Hmm.
expect for your brain to work at full capacity when everything is shriveled up because it's thirsty?
Now there's an image.
Right? When all your cells are shriveled, it's like,
Yeah.
how could you possibly show up as your best self? There's no way.
Yeah.
No way at all. Literally, organs start to fail when you don't get enough water. So I harp on it all the time. And all my kids, where's your water bottle? You
It's
know?
true. I mean, if I didn't have water on my desk while I'm working, I won't drink it. That's why I always make sure to have water on my desk because that's when I know I will be drinking it. If it's there and I see it, I'll drink it.
And that's a part of habits, right? And building your efficiency. How do you make a habit of having your water be there with you? Right. And the efficiency of, okay, it's in flow that I'm going to fill it at the end of the day, put it on my desk at night. So when I wake up in the morning, I don't have to have that on my list of things to do. And then it's already there when I go to sit down.
I know. I love how it all comes back full circle to everything else we spoke about earlier.
Yeah. They're all connected.
Yeah.
The first E of cheer is in relation to hydration, which is eating. And I wish it was more, I wish I could have added the letter N in, but it just doesn't sound as nice. But I would do N for nourishing
Yes.
yourself, right? For nourishment, because we need to put the energy in. And again, especially as parents, right? We put ourselves last when it comes to eating. We're like, oh, I'll eat my kids' crust or their leftovers or whatever snacks are at the bottom of the lunch tin at the end of the day. It's the easy, convenient thing to do because it's right there, but that's not being conscious about how do I make sure that I'm nourishing me so that I can show up in my best way. The second E is exercise, movement, moving the
Mm.
body, right? Again, we make sure our kids do it, that they have, PE, and we know if they get a little cabin crazy inside, we're like, just go run around, like go outside and run or jump or just, we know that they need to move. And we're the same,
Yeah.
right? We're the same. We just don't have, we have a higher executive functioning where we are able to control our physical impulses a lot better than them. But we need movement as well. And I mean, it releases natural dopamine and serotonin to move our bodies. It's medicine. It's natural medicine when we move ourselves. And we know we always feel better when we move. I've never met
Absolutely.
anyone that's right. Have you ever met
Yeah.
anyone that was like, man, I feel like crap after that walk?
The hardest part is getting out the door. That's what it is.
Yes.
That's the hard part.
Mhm. But no one's ever regretted having come home and been like, oh man, I shouldn't have gone to the gym today. I shouldn't have gone for that run or that hike.
And personally, for me, that's why I've got the dog, whom you've heard earlier on barking, because I take him out every day for a walk. And it's a good, quick, brisk walk for a whole hour. And if it wasn't for him, I think I'd be struggling to get out of the door.
Absolutely. And when I talk about exercise, a lot of people are like, I don't have, an hour or 45 minutes. And so you don't need it. You don't need that much time. Just doing a few minutes or a few repetitions, you could be just like in your bedroom and you squat up and down 5 times. Great. You moved, right? You're not
Yes.
just sedentary all the time. It could be you do a few jumping jacks. Great. You do a dance party. You put on a song and you just dance with yourself, solo dance party for 2 minutes. Great. That's all that you need to do in order to get the blood flowing and get the
Yeah.
benefits, right? Sure, 45 minutes an hour would be great, but especially when you're starting from zero, when you're starting from nothing, that's a really audacious goal. And oftentimes people fail trying to reach that goal because they're going from zero to that, and it's too much.
Yeah.
So you start small.
That's exactly what we did. And I mean, honestly, I have an hour every day scheduled in my calendar to take my dog out for a walk. If it's not in my calendar, I won't do it. It's as simple as that. Coming back to
Exactly.
efficiency.
Back to efficiency. And I always tell my husband and my clients, I'm say, if it's not in the calendar, it doesn't exist. Put it
Exactly.
in the
I feel the
calendar.
same way. I feel the same way. Okay, so what about the R, the last one for self care?
The R stands for rest.
Ah, okay,
Rest.
yeah. See, that one wasn't on my list.
And again, like it's an umbrella statement when I say rest, because that includes the obvious sleep, right? Getting
Yeah.
sleep at night and hopefully getting a consistent sleep. But it also involves mental rest, right? It is taking these moments of pause and recovery throughout the day, not just a big block, which is incredibly important, of course, but to give yourself these moments of rest and pause through the day, just like how our devices need to be turned off and back on sometimes, and it's running that much quicker because you're like, oh my gosh, it just needed to reset. We need to reset as well,
Yeah.
right? And it could be that you just get out of the chair for a moment and you go stand again outside, maybe get some connection, right? Rest your eyes and your brain, take your brain off of thinking about whatever is in front of you. Give it a moment to have kind of like, just a respite, right? Or an excursion. And then you come back fresh
Yeah.
with reinvigorized, creativity and thinking. And it may be just, laying down and closing your eyes and breathing for 2 minutes. Like everyone's got a minute, 2 minutes where they can just breathe.
Oh my gosh. And I think, if we just look at self care on its own, I always say self care is not selfish, but just
Mhm.
looking at self care on its own. And I think how it taps back into efficiency, habits, community, communication, it all
Mhm.
encompasses each other in a nice way. And this is why I like how you've kind of simplified with the 5 pillars, bringing them together because they're all interlinked in so many things, in so many ways. But just by understanding them, it comes back to that first principle of what you're saying, the calm, just helping
Mhm.
you get back into the flow or whatever calm means to you. But I love the way you explained it of getting into that flow because as you said it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly how I feel about it.
Yeah, that flow state. And it's great because again, they're simple concepts, you know,
Yeah.
having a water bottle and sleeping. These are simple things, but they're difficult to do without intentionality. And when you're not in the habit of taking care of those things for yourself, when you're not in the habit
Yes.
of putting yourself first, or not even just first, but of being intentional around taking care of you.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And for what purpose? When you forget your reason, your purpose for taking care of you, right? Because so often for us as parents, as leaders, and as coaches, right? We can be our best for our clients when we're taking care of us. If we're not taking care of us, that is going to reflect in our work. That's going to reflect in how we coach and how we work with our clients, with our partners, with our children. So if we want to have the best relationship, show up and give our best and be able to show them like who we are at our core and our essence and why you hired me in the first place, right? I need to take care of me. That it is a
Yes.
non-negotiable.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with putting yourself first, taking care of yourself, taking care of your energy, taking care of that calm, that flow, because that's going to help you be of service to those around you, whether it's your family, your friends, your clients, colleagues, same thing. Oh my
Exactly.
gosh. I love this conversation. You know what? I think we can dive so much more into this, but I think to make it easy for everybody, you also have a free download for everybody and you call it 2 minutes to calm. Tell us a little bit about this download because I think it helps us kind of unify everything we've said right here on the podcast and what it is that they can get from this download.
Yeah, so it's on my website, jennahermans.com/downloads. And so 2 minutes to calm is a reference list of over a dozen little tactics of things you can do to help calm your nervous system, right? Because when we're dysregulated, right, in that place of, oh my God, right, that it's hard to, you're not working with all your faculties. You're not working with the full deck up there of like, let me think of how can I calm my nervous system right now and be a critical thinker and be creative. Oftentimes when you're dysregulated, you're sitting just in that the cortisol is running and you don't have access to that list that it's hard to
Yes.
remember,
Yeah.
right? When you're in fight, flight, or freeze. So this list has these easy, actionable things you can do right now that you can print and put on your desk or put it on your phone to reference, as a favorited image or what have you, that reminds you quickly, oh, let me just do some box breathing. Okay. Oh, let me
Yes.
do, this with my body. Let me do this to touch my palm. Or, and there's all these different tactics to remind you of how you can calm your nervous system in that moment.
Yes. No, I love it. And, just like Jenna said, for those of you listening, the link also will be in my show notes below. So you can go and download that. And I'm going to have a look as well, because it's like anything. If we don't get told what we need to do, sometimes we don't do it. We just go back into our old habits, doing things automatically. See, there we loop back again. But then also, for those of you who want to connect with Jenna, her website will be in the show notes as well as her social media details. So please make sure that you connect with her there. Get in touch with her if you find that this was of help to you and you want to explore it a little bit more. But before we go, Jenna, I want to talk about the book because you just said that as of Friday, which is a couple of days ago, you heard that your book won a national award. Congratulations. Tell us about the
Thank you
book.
so much.
Tell us about what you
Thank
did with it.
you.
It's amazing news. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yes, the book, excuse me, has all five pillars laid out as clear as day in it and has actionable steps within. It's kind of like having a coach, but on the page that says, all right, think about this, try this, do this now. Don't even go to the next page until you do this or think about it right in this moment. So
Yes.
it's a guide and a tool and a friend that's there saying, I've been there. I get it, right? And that's why I wrote this book because I needed this book because
Yeah.
I was going through, the whirlwind of chaos was overwhelming. And this was it started when my kids were, how old were they? 9, 8, 6, and 6 months. And that was at the point where my husband and I had started our business. And he's traveling a ton. I'm building a business. I have 4 kids at home, one's a baby, and it was all way too much. And we had no family nearby. We had moved recently from Los Angeles to the San Francisco Bay Area, and it was all just too much for me. And I found myself having debilitating, like daily panic attacks and anxiety attacks. And but what was crazy is I woke up one day and was like, wait a minute. One, I don't want to live like this anymore. And two, I don't have to. I have the tools to be able to move out of this
Yeah.
space based on my experiences, my education. I'm also a pretty smart person. I could probably figure this out. Whatever I don't already have, I can figure this out. And so for about a year and a half, I intentionally started bringing things into my world from my formal education. I have a psychology bachelor's degree and an organizational management master's degree. And then, like I said, I have over 15 years of human resources and operations experience. Like, I can take all of that and put that into the home and support myself so that I can run this life and my home and my existence from such a calmer place rather
Yeah.
than waking up every day in a panic and feeling like I'm just barely surviving this life and going to bed like, fried every single day.
And that's where the book came from, Chaos to Calm. And I
Yes.
love it.
Yeah. So yeah, it was about almost what, a year and a half, 2 years of learnings
Yeah.
to go from that chaotic place to a much calmer one. And then I got asked a lot, how did you do it? What did you do? And all of the answers of how did I do it and what did I do became the skeleton of Chaos to Calm.
With those 5 pillars. And now you can
Mhm.
say you've won a National Book Award.
Yes, it won the
Amazing.
Benjamin Franklin Award through the Independent Book Publishers Association for a gold award for the category of parenting and family.
Brilliant. Oh, well, that is definitely worth celebrating. And I'm so, so happy for you. And for those of you listening, we will also make reference to the book down below in the show notes. So go and have a look at it. You can get it there, especially if you feel that these 5 pillars that we've spoken about here today resonates with you and you want to do a little bit of a deeper dive. And maybe you're feeling quite chaotic at the moment and you're thinking, I need some calm in my life. Well, then I highly suggest that you look at these 5 pillars and look at Chaos to Calm, Jenna's book, which I think will be quite invaluable for you. But Jenna, I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to being here, to sharing all of your knowledge in such a calm way. I really enjoyed this conversation. It felt so calming as well, just listening to you talk. But thank you so much for being here and taking the time to share it with us. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such an honor and a pleasure to connect with you.